Treating me well. I've had to take a little bit of a step back from it now that the whole pandemic is kind of going away and things are starting to open up. At least in Georgia, you have people that are back on their own schedules, people that are going back to work. So it's been kind of harder to nail down guests, which has been fine because it's been a little bit more of a relaxer for me. So what I've done is just taken the kind of schedule, and we've normally streamed on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but now we only stream on the Tuesdays and Thursdays that we have a guest scheduled, like today.
Dope. Yeah, man. Yeah, so what games are you playing these days?
What games am I playing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all about Apex. I don't think I've played any other game besides Apex.
Dude, I tried that, man. I need to get on that because I tried it and I really sucked at it. It was kind of like Fortnite for me. It's just one of those things where I was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Although with like Fortnite, like I kind of had an idea of what was going on and I was like really into it for a while. And then, I just was like, forget it. But
I'm just not a Fortnite guy. Never have been, never will be. I've tried picking it back up several times. It's just not for me. But Apex, oh my gosh, they're releasing a brand new game type separate from the Battle Royale. It's going to be awesome. Now's the perfect time to get into it. Yeah. They're going to release it Tuesday next week. So definitely recommend getting into it, man.
Apex is free too, right?
Absolutely. And all the content, I mean, it's the typical Battle Royale battle pass. So if you want extra skins and look cool on your character, you got to pay for that. But everything else, all the content, the gameplay, it's not pay to win, which I hate games that become pay to win. Especially like, you ever play Clash Royale or Clash of Clans?
Oh no, but I know of Clash of Clans.
Clash of Clans, man, the ultimate pay-to-win game. Clash Royale too, man. I love those games. I really did. But then when they started like implementing these new cards in Clash Royale and these new mechanics that you really had to, unless you paid money for it, it was just impossible to get ahead.
Oh yeah, I know. I hate that. There was like in Diablo 3, you could kind of like buy stuff to get ahead of people. I remember a long time ago and I was just like, I don't have any money. And I was a kid playing Diablo 3 and everybody I knew had so many cool items and stuff, but they could just go to the shops. And I was just like, what's the fun? Like, what's the fun in that? Like, what's the point of it? Why not earn it?
Absolutely.
But if you had like, I don't know, $200 or whatever, I guess you could just
drop it on that. I mean, that's how Yu-Gi-Oh was, man. I was a pay-to-win person in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Well, yeah, if you're the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, obliterate anybody. Right?
Absolutely, man. You know how, man, I spent, and this was freshman year in college, Nate. Like, I'm not exaggerating. You remember Anthony?
On our hall?
Yeah.
Oh yes, I do.
Yeah, the guy that was really good at Super Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was good.
He was really good at
all
Super
of y'all
Smash
were
Bros.
Like really fucking good. Like,
Anthony was probably the best though, at least Melee. But that man, him and we got back into Yu-Gi-Oh freshman year, and then some of sophomore year, I spent so much money. What's up?
Wait, do you still have them?
Yeah, I still have all my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, man. I love it. We have Randall checking in saying Dell saying, what's up, bro? Randall saying hi, young. And then we got just a raid with Mr. Tyler. Appreciate it. Appreciate you, Tyler.
Oh, what is a raid? I'm sorry, I'm new to that.
So a raid on Twitch is something that, other streamers can do to help expand their own community or support somebody else. So at the end of my stream, what I'll do is all my viewers that are on Twitch, sadly, if you're on YouTube, you can't be a part of it. But, Dell's saying he follows you on Insta. But.
Oh, yeah. Let me see. I feel like I followed you back, but let me just double check that because I know how that goes.
For Dell?
Yeah. I've talked to him on Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dell's a cool guy. Dell's my boss. So I have to say these things. Yeah. So a raid, just to clarify though, a raid is it basically gives my viewership over to somebody else when I'm done. But tell me about yourself, man. Tell me what you've been up to. I know you recently moved. How's that gone?
Yeah, man.
What are you working on?
Dude, so yeah, I moved back to Atlanta in August. Or actually, no, September. I took like a 3 week road trip. Bro, that road trip was wild. Like I felt like I really found myself through that road trip, but I didn't realize it at the time. It was kind of like you know
Hindsight.
how like you hear those things where someone goes off into the woods or whatever, and they're like, I'm just finding myself, and they're totally lost. That's how this trip was for me. But you know, I was meeting like all these people, and I had all these experiences in just so many places. I went to like Utah, I went to Portland, I went to Colorado, New York, just like constantly just hitting as many places as I could go. Some places I had been to before, but it's kind of interesting um, seeing them all, like how they operated in the pandemic. New York like took it very seriously, and then a lot of other places were just like, who cares? And then when I came back to Atlanta, I was like, oh,
Welcome
this
to
is
Georgia.
chaos. Yeah. So I was like, whoa, like LA was really uptight, you know, about the pandemic and stuff. Um, but I was excited to come back to Atlanta, and it's changed a lot since I like, you know, once knew it. Are you based in Atlanta area? Are you kind of
Yeah, man,
like,
born and raised. I mean, the goal is to
yeah,
kind of get out of Atlanta one day, just to always, with the expectation of probably coming back. Love Atlanta. I love
yeah,
Georgia. I think it's a great state. It's a great um, area to be around. But just to kind of get out, and move away from the cities you've grown up in, different states. There's
yeah.
something calling about that. It just feels like it's like a call to adventure, kind of.
Yes, that's kind of what I needed to appreciate Georgia a lot more. You know, especially because like being out in LA, I felt like talking about battle royales, man. That's a crazy battle royale. Like, you know, everybody out there is trying to win something, win a deal, win a festival, you know, but it's big, or like win a competition of some sorts. It's highly, highly emphasized on competition. Um, and so that's what I didn't really like about it was that, you know, filmmaking, storytelling, music um, was sort of beneath the commerce of Los Angeles. Like Los Angeles heavily was about the business of filmmaking, whereas
Oh,
you couldn't really like, you know, make stories that are just crazy and out of this world. And now that I'm in Georgia, I actually watched a short film today. The Atlanta Film Festival is going on right now.
oh, is it really?
And
Okay.
yeah, I highly recommend. Like, you know, there's actually music videos that are like free, and you can also just like check the film guide. There's like a bunch of stuff that's playing in online, or you know, there's a drive-in and whatever. But there's a lot of great stuff. And there's this one guy's film. His name is Tristan Kim, and ironically, I was like, dude, I swear, like this guy looks like someone I know. Did you know Christian Kim in college?
I don't think so.
This guy, like, okay, so I remember Christian Kim from college, and I hung out with that dude a lot, like partied with that dude. And then I see this guy short film, and I was like, this guy, like Tristan Kim, I was like, he looks very similar to Christian Kim. His last name is Kim. This guy went to SCAD, and I remember Chris was from Savannah. I was like, he has to be related to him. And I was like, and I little do I know, I think that's his brother. And I was like, that is so wild. And he made like one of the best short films I had ever seen.
What's it about?
Like it's called Run That Shit. And it's about like it's amazing, dude. The title itself is like fucking amazing. And,
Well, if you definitely want to catch somebody's eye, I mean, definitely Run That Shit is one of those titles.
yeah, no, and it's like some rapper, and shit is like a constant theme throughout the whole thing. I just fucking love it. Like it's like a rapper who like wants to make it, kind of like sells his soul to the devil sort of thing.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, that's so interesting because like the film that I just made is a similar thing, but it does it like the film industry. Like it's a selling the soul of the devil kind of thing, but like to make it in Hollywood or whatever. It's not even really Hollywood. I kind of keep it ambiguous, but it's like, hey kid, you know, the whole world's gonna know your name and like sign this contract in blood. and it's yours, you know?
Wow. Wait, so
Yeah.
that's like some of the premise of your film that you submitted, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I submitted. I don't know if Tristan submitted to Cannes, although he should have, if because I know the deadline was recently for short films, but I hope he submitted to Cannes. I hope I get into Cannes. I submitted my feature to Cannes, just sitting off like a DVD. I was like, dude, I really upgraded. Like I used to put my stuff on VHS, and now I'm on DVD.
Is there a way that our viewers could go support somehow? Is there a way that we could possibly like help your video get in?
I don't think so for Can. Because Can is like very like traditional, I think, in the way where they're like, we don't want to know anything about you or press or anything like that.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, which I like. I mean, it's
they want to keep the sanctity of the film. They want to let the film speak for itself.
Yeah, right. I was kind of like, well, you guys, here's a DVD. Right into it, like so. But I do want to release the film over the summer. I kind of want to set up some premieres and stuff in Atlanta. So if anyone out there is in Atlanta and they want to, watch a movie at a drive-in or just an event, like an outdoors kind of event, you're invited to just come by and
send me the location, the date, and we'll be there.
Yeah, I'm trying to do like I like how I want to do my own kind of film festival. I want to screen, other people's films and stuff like that, and really kind of create or develop this community. I really hope I can reach out to people like Tristan and also the artists in Atlanta. And that's the thing that I really love about Atlanta is that there's this huge like artistic community of people. Everybody's like making, and I think surrealism right now is kind of like becoming this, it's coming back as like a topic, I think, in stories.
What is surrealism, if you could just clarify that?
Yeah, well, surrealism, one of the funny things about that is I feel like it's a term that can be interpreted, it's interpreted differently by anybody. I think the kind of, the way that I describe surrealism is something that explores the subconscious, but it's like, the subconscious of like, your dreams, your experiences, metaphors that you think about in life, stuff like that. So if you, for instance, if you have a dream where you're getting chased by like a bear, and then you happen to, have an instance that is the same kind of feeling in life, you might not physically be attacked by a bear, but you might have experienced that exact same feeling. That could be surrealism. And that might be a surreal instance.
So how does that play out in film though?
In my film, I do it through image and sound mostly. And I do a lot of weird things with visuals. And I also kind of make the setting of it all very surreal too. Like the story itself of signing a deal with the devil it's very metaphorical. It's something that every story, and we've actually talked about this before, everybody has seen a story like that before. But what makes this kind of unique is how this guy kind of sees
his experience,
how this is playing out.
Yeah.
And it's like a man who returns home from an odyssey and has no idea what home is anymore. And he's sort of like kind of finding his way through this turbulence of interesting, exotic people that he meets. And he kind of creates his own interpretation out of all of these instances. And then the way the movie ends is up to anyone's interpretation. Okay, was that, like, how do you like the ending? Do you not like it? And I think it's just a very binary thing of like, you're either going to hate it or you're going to be like, oh, maybe it's something good, I don't know.
It can be really trippy really quick.
Yeah, I don't hold back on a single thing either. And there's a lot of, like, without trying to give too much away, there's a lot of, subliminal messages and stuff that I insert in there. Some of them are more blatant than others. Some of them you're not going to notice unless you watched it a second time. And that's something that I kind of hope is that it's a film that someone would keep arriving at again and again and again. And it's only like 75 minutes.
So the surrealism aspect, are you like trying to implement things in the movie or the story that makes the viewer feel the same way or feel that experience? Is that am I getting the definition of or how it works in film right?
Well, I'm basically just the narrator of the story,
Okay.
and the viewer is in for an experience. And what I would like is, it's not so much like I have my own interpretation of how I view everything in it, but I don't find the fun in that. I always love those movies where it's um, like Kubrick movies where you can experience them, and by the end of it, you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? You know? And it's like, it could be, there's a lot of taboos and all that kind of stuff that I'm wrestling with. Um, and I like to kind of throw out the topics, and anybody can watch it and kind of, they're going to have some sort of a reaction to whatever that is.
Absolutely.
And then they're going to, be able to kind of form their own interpretation. No, it means this, or this is how I see that. And those kind of arguments to me are very progressive. And in a way, like that kind of thinking, I think ultimately will bring people together in a very strange kind of way. Maybe that's naive of me to think, but I love discussion. And
Well, that's like, I guess the main point of media, right? Or it's like an expression of, and I think we had this conversation Tuesday this past week, but it's like an expression of how you feel, and it's a way to get messaging across and discussions talked about. And I think I asked the question last Tuesday, with everything becoming really political these days, with I guess the media and how it's portrayed and everything, there's like a pushback on media in saying or pushing these political messages in every form. But my argument to that is like, well, if not media, then what form? No one watches the news really. So if not media, like that's like the general form of the way, I guess, ideas are spread. So I think that in terms of music, artistry, film, I think these are the only ways that we can actually wrestle with ideas that are progressive or controversial in a sort of playful way. I think that those are the best ways to do it. In all honesty, I think it allows the viewer, in my opinion, an opportunity to sit there and take in, and then after they've taken in the full 75 minutes, they can take in that message and then sort of integrate it or incubate it a little bit, think about it, or come back to it a little later. So, I think media is a great form.
yeah, um, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think that music is kind of like modern day philosophy?
Uh, some forms. Yeah, I think it could be. But I don't think, in general, I think it depends. Now, do I think the WAP is? No. But I think it just depends on the artists and the people behind the songs. Um, Art is just a form of expression, right? And music is just a form of expression. If you express to you want to express philosophy in a form of music, then I think it can. I think that that's one of the most powerful ways to do it, actually, in terms of film and music. Uh, do I think it's being used right now to express philosophy in its full potential? Probably not, but I do think it's one of the most powerful mediums.
Yeah, I wonder a lot. I mean, because I like to view it in a way that it is this modern day philosophy. And I only say this because I'm sort of a recent student of philosophy. I'm trying to like learn more about different thoughts, sort of like in the ancient times, or whenever. And right now I'm actually reading Confucius. And there's a lot of stuff that Confucius says where I'm kind of like, I don't get that. Like, and it's like, it sometimes can be hard to read, but I always try to read like at least a few, like a page a day of, Confucius's sayings or whatever. But some of what he says is just like, it transcends over time. And music to me, even if there's no words in the music, there's something to that like, I don't know. I've been recently diving into making my own music and like playing with experimental sounds from like birds, nature, whatever it could be, playing with the frequencies and making entire soundscapes out of them. And when I listen to it, I have this effect or this feeling, or it makes me start thinking about just like all sorts of stuff that it's strange how it works. Like stuff that I was thinking about 10 years ago or whatever. And it's all like kind of hitting back to me. And then when I give that song to somebody else, they get this entirely new experience out of it themselves. They're like, oh, it reminds me of something that happened, XYZ time ago. And I feel like philosophy is a variation of that, where it's like, oh, what Confucius said about, feeling like he was a student when he was like 13, all the way until he could stand firm at the age of 30. And although I'm not at 30, I can kind of see what he's talking about.
Right.
And it's like, whoa, like that's crazy. And that was said in what, BC, right? I don't know.
Well, so there's some really good points in that, and it's the philosophy behind Confucius, or at least Confucius's wisdom, right? And let me take the music part first. And I think the music part is true, and I believe that music is an expression of, or it's the language of the soul, and that's how I look at music. And so even though I'm not really good at guitar, I try to make sure I play guitar, because creativity in essence is, your soul trying to communicate with this world, or at least make some sort of sense of this world. And at least with the notes on the paper, or the notes on an instrument, that's sort of like the language or the tone of your soul coming out. And that's the way I view music, because you can listen to a song that was literally created years ago, but it can make you feel some type of way. I mean, we've all heard that one song, or we all have a song in our head that, if we're going through a hard time, that's the song that we're going to pop up, and it's going to speak to us. It's going to speak to our soul, and it's going to help us make us feel better, work through an issue. There are songs that literally, when you're at the gym, get you hype, get your energy, your soul like pumping. There are songs that make you angry when you listen to them. I truly believe that in terms of music, it's this sort of divine communication with the soul, and it's an expression of the soul's language. Now, certain people are really good at expressing like their soul. There's why there's a whole genre of neo soul guitar. You ever listen to neo soul guitar? Oh my god, it's my favorite genre.
That sounds cool though.
Neo soul guitar is such an amazing genre. That's literally why there's a genre called soul music, R&B. Perfect representation of this stuff. Like there's a vibe with it that you rock back and forth. You can feel it. That's why dancing is sort of an expression of this too. I think it's just an incredible outlet. Now, in terms of philosophy, I think you could sort of place that on top to speak more deeply into someone's soul. And I think Confucius is a great place to start in terms of wisdom. But in my view of things, there is wisdom that's applicable for some people, but not others. And so some of Confucius's views might work for some people, but some of them might not work for other people. So when I'm reading like words of wisdom from ancient philosophers uh like whether it's, well, he's not ancient, but Nietzsche, or whether I'm reading something from Aristotle or something like that. Words of wisdom, because there's let me give you a better example so I'm not rambling here. Wisdom here, this would be a great saying. Birds of a feather flock together, right? Pretty good wisdom, right? People
Yeah.
like people flock together. But there's another saying: opposites attract. So which is it? Is it the people that are similar go together, or is it the people that are opposite go together? Like, what is it? In which situation does it work? And both of our wisdom, and both equally apply, but in which situations do they equally apply? So I take.
Well, that's where it gets super interesting, because some, like, for instance, like a relationship, sometimes the like opposite attracts kind of thing works,
Mhm.
introvert, extrovert being together. But then, if you're working with a team of people, um, gosh, yeah, that's super interesting. When you work with a team of people, sometimes you do have to kind of be, not necessarily surround yourself with like-minded people to where it's like you all agree on something, but like-minded as far as like your interests are in the realms at least of like um, destination. Like you guys have a similar interest as far as where your destination wants to be. If
Right.
everybody wants to be a filmmaker and they come together as a team of 3 or 4 people, it could be a very good team. It could also be a very bad team though too, because then it's like, if you're fighting all the time, then that's one thing. But I think generally in the cases of that, like that does tend to work because you're all just like, yeah, we're ambitious and we work together.
Well, that's the idea of organizational culture, right? Is the organizational culture within like a company or something like that, and you can even expand this into other cultures outside. But for less contentious reason, let's just focus on companies here. The whole idea of having like a board or a CEO or people that the tech fields do this the best. Honestly, the tech fields. If you've ever been to a company that hires in the realm of technology or IT or something like that, software engineering, they usually focus on the culture of the company, and usually what that is like-minded, productive people that come together according to a goal or a common issue, and they work together equally to solve an issue or a problem. And in organizational psychology or organizational culture, it's best to have people that are like-minded like that, so that way you can get the goals that you need to get done without the least amount of resistance and friction. So it's really really kind of interesting to see organizational culture kind of, especially Chick-fil-A does this the best. Everybody wonders why Chick-fil-A has a great customer service. Well, it's the culture of Chick-fil-A. It's the culture. I mean, whether or not you agree, let's take out the beliefs. It's the culture of Chick-fil-A, how they from the moment they hire the individual to when the individual's in, to everything about how the job works. They have basically like a what is a I forget the word, assembly line going. They have an assembly line going where each person knows their job, each person's working together, and they're all working in tandem to accomplish a goal, which is serve the customer or whatever that is, or get paid.
But
But
yeah, wow, that's super interesting though.
that's the whole idea, though, is
Yeah.
when you take that idea, culture, it sort of matches together too.
Yeah, I mean, because it is funny. Chick-fil-A does have the best customer service out of like any other fast food restaurants, at least that I go to. I mean, I used to work at McDonald's and that was terrible.
Oh, hands down.
Like,
And the job satisfaction for Chick-fil-A is usually really high. Like,
yeah,
people enjoy working at Chick-fil-A. In fact, people like apply up the hoo-ha every day to work at Chick-fil-A. Like,
yeah. I know I was rejected by. Did you work at Chick-fil-A?
no, I
I,
never worked at Chick-fil-A, but man, I would love to study their culture, just to like to see what they do, like just to go through the entire hiring process, to go through the type of people they want to bring on. Simon Sinek is a great person to listen to if you guys are interested in the leadership aspects of culture. He's great. Simon Sinek, he's a leaders eat last kind of guy. So really interesting stuff.
Leaders eat last. What does that mean?
Like, so in the military, he brings up this example in a lot of his talks. If you guys ever want to go look, this I'm quoting Simon Sinek here, not verbatim, so it might be messy. But basically, Simon Sinek goes on and he says, you know, in the military they have tight relationships, and there's a reason why they have tight relationships. Well, one, because their life is on the line, and if they don't have tight relationships and they're not trusting each other, then you know the errors that they can make wouldn't be just, hey, I didn't turn in this assignment, you know, we can just turn it in next week. No, the errors that they make cost people their lives. So that's one reason. And another reason is that the leadership within the military focuses on the individual rather than the leader. So the leaders, the good leaders at least, are the ones that are allowing their individuals or their group members to eat first. And so what they would do if they have a limited amount of supply or limited amount of food, they would let the individuals eat, and then the leader would take their share. So it's putting your people first.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's cool. I mean, because I think a lot of corporations could probably take some notes from that too.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, again, I think that's why Chick-fil-A does it very well. They pay their workers really well. I mean, I'm pretty sure they don't get paid minimum wage, like working at Chick-fil-A. I mean, they get like benefits too. Working at Chick-fil-A, like they take care of their employees, and it's sort of like a trickle up effect. So instead of trickling down from when the CEO is taken care of, and then we give everybody their fair share, they kind of reverse that pyramid on its head and say, hey, we're going to take care of our employees because they're the ones serving us. Like without them, we're not going to be able to do anything. So let's take care of them. And then in turn, they'll take care of us. And so that's kind of the culture they've built. And that's kind of the culture of IT mostly. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Cause I mean, it is a lot bigger incentive for people to want to stay and maybe even grow in the workplace and things like that. I mean, I used to work at a company that just like, you know, fired a whole bunch of people, just constantly, you know, when you have those revolving doors, and then like no one is getting paid that much money anyways. No one wants to apply to the gig. Therefore, you know, somebody's doing a bunch of a workload and, you know, has to do the job of 3 or 4 people because they got fired or, you know, whatever. And at that point, it's just toxic. Like, you know,
it absolutely is.
I can't even imagine, you know, I mean, I'm so glad I'm out of that kind of environment, but it's like, you know, I was just like, for what? Like, why do that? But yeah, it's crazy to me that CEOs are kind of like these dragons. Certain CEOs are dragons sitting on piles of cash. Like, you know, obviously we know about Amazon, Jeff Bezos, like that's like a humongous mound of gold. And everybody is like, I mean, you know, it's pretty much modern day sharecropping or something, like, you know, something equivalent to that. Which kind of brings me to my next point about the prisons. Dude, prisons, like I've been recently learning about this kind of stuff, and like it just makes me sick to my stomach, like American capitalism, how much it profits off of prisons, and it's basically like slave labor, but they're profiting immensely off of that. And it's like the most mind-blowing thing to me is the fact that even Thomas Jefferson was like, this is basically slavery. And then they just jail like all these Black people. It's completely disproportionate to the amount of like anybody else in prison. And Black people make up 13% of the population. it's just like all this kind of stuff, just knowing that kind of stuff. And then you've also got corporations, there's privatized prisons. Um, it's just like American capitalism needs so much reworking. And
Yeah,
I feel like,
I'm a huge advocate for reforming the prison system. I think it's
yeah,
just completely ridiculous how we have it set up. It's a revolving door. The recidivism rates for people that go into prison basically are stripped of the right to vote. There's no rehabilitation. Usually that goes on your background. So companies don't want to hire you after you're out. So the incentive to commit another crime, to go back into prison, is really high. So the recidivism rates for even when people get out is astronomical. So it's not like people can, just the fact that the issue is people go in for the stupidest things sometimes, like possession of marijuana. Nobody should ever go into jail for possessing marijuana. If you want to, let me not say that. Stream.
no, straight up though. Like, I mean, the whole the whole war on drugs. Well, the whole war on drugs thing is stupid. Like the whole thing that Ronald Reagan did, create all that kind of stuff. And like, I will wear a Dare shirt out of complete irony and contradiction just to say "fuck Dare." But like,
it had the absolute adverse effect on everybody. I think the usage rates for after the Dare program was implemented was even higher. Turns out, drug use rates, if you take out marijuana. So actually, a little bit of statistics. So drug use rates are actually on the decline if you take out marijuana. If you take out, so alcohol is being used at a very less frequent rate. Other hardcore drugs are being used as a less frequent rate. But if you put marijuana back into the equation, it's actually going way up really quickly. So luckily people are not drinking alcohol as much, but marijuana is sort of compensating for that.
Right. Yeah. No, everybody's like, I'll get high instead.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny. It's like, I'd have to agree with Angela Davis on this matter, because she talks about like instead of like making drugs illegal and making them like a crime to do the drugs, instead we should think about the actual reforming of those who are addicts or have addictions, and creating educational programs. You kind of have to start at the source of things instead of being like, well, we're going to lock up this person because they did meth or something like that.
Right.
Weed is like, I mean, it's basically harmless. It's kind of the equivalent of cigarettes in my opinion, but except for it's actually less bad, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't have all the harmful chemicals of cigarettes.
Right. So like, the fact that, but as far as weed being legalized federally, or even in Georgia, I think Atlanta it's decriminalized
under a certain amount, I think.
Okay.
I think like if you have an eighth or something, I think, then it's like decriminalized. It like you're not legally allowed to have it, but they're not going to do anything. If someone knows differently, let me know.
Yeah. I mean, well, because it's funny, like being out in LA, everybody smokes weed. They're like, whatever, like it's so common. And then here, I came back here and I was like, yo, everybody smokes
hide
weed.
it.
Like, yeah. I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't know Georgia was just like, oh yeah, fuck it. Like, and when people say like you smoke here, like they actually mean weed, and instead of what it used to be 4 or 5 years ago, cigarettes, and it was like, oh, weed. But
I have some reservations with. Let me get to those in just a second. Let me hit some of these comments because I've kind of been neglecting. That's why I like country music, the classic country. It tells a story. WAP could definitely be philosophical. Women taking their own bodies versus men taking it for decades signifies a social and cultural shift. Interesting. Kenny G may not sing, but he plays you can feel it. Let's see. Vodeg, tell him. What's up, Vodeg? Taking care of employees first is socialism. I think employees having equal outcome is more socialism. I don't think taking care of employees first is technically socialism. Just reading comments from 20 minutes ago. Yeah, I know. We're trying to
Yeah.
legalize marijuana across European Union, but it's really difficult. Hey, man. All right. Let me get back to this. Uh, my reservation with marijuana is not the marijuana itself. I think if you want to smoke weed, you should be able to smoke weed. And if you want to do it every day, fine, do it every day. My reservation, though, is 10 years ago, the THC contents were not nearly as high as they are now. Basically, double, triple, like fraction of the THC contents. And so you could literally go to Colorado and ask them, hey, I want your highest strand. And they're like, oh, you want the one with 50% THC? Let's get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, my fear is when we start getting in the higher THC contents, it starts to work more like a psychedelic. So I'm afraid we haven't hit that sort of baseline yet, and so we're kind of tampering with. So I'm hesitant. I'm still for legalization, but I think there needs to be more education around the THC content levels in some of these things. Hey, if you do a strand that's really high in THC content, it could act more as a psychedelic. That's something we should be aware of. I mean, definitely, I think that's something that's not really talked about that much.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up an interesting point. The thing I think about marijuana though is like I don't know. I mean, have you smoked it before where it's like you've had a hallucinatory experience, like something close to that?
Um, I haven't done marijuana to that point, but I may have not done other substances to that point.
Right, right. Yeah. And that's where it gets super interesting though, because I think sometimes in the beginning, like when I smoked weed for the first time in college, and I was like, I had this very strange experience. Like it was, I thought my skin was crawling, and I think I was having a bit of a panic attack, but then I like kind of zoned in focus and was like, just started laughing at like, everything. I was on like a bus, like one of those UGA buses, but I was, like, and
zooming, bro.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh my God, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen. And I didn't know why. But yeah, hallucinatory experiences. I mean, it just, and even like, there was a time when I was in like a basement and like, I put on some 3D glasses and I did have a bit of a hallucinatory experience, but I know so many other people who are just like, nah, man, you just got to chill out. Like, weed is fine. Like they've never experienced anything like that. And they kind of are just like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's like a thing that you could probably allow to happen. I guess if you do have something that's like a super high THC percentage and you want to just sit there and like, look at nature and imagine something, I do wonder if your mind could actually go there. But I don't know.
Definitely could on some other substances. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh. I've had some crazy experiences. To say it the least. Psilocybin mushrooms are no joke. I definitely messed around way too much with those in the past, thinking that I was I smoked a lot of weed in college, thinking that this is awesome. But then I mean, being the stoner that I was like, I need to take this to the next level. Let's get high. Let's trip. So then found psilocybin mushrooms, took those, had relatively really good experiences the first few times, and then I had the trip. I had the trip. It was a brand new batch, and they were bigger than normal. And I was like, whoa, I've never seen mushroom this size. It's probably like my 8th time doing them. I was like, I've never seen mushrooms this size. And then I was like, all right, well, let's give it a shot. Tried them. Oh my goodness, man. I kid you not. I was in a different world. and like literally I could not keep my eyes open for a majority of the night, and it was I don't want to say it was, so it was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. And as much as those two don't make sense together, it was terrifying because I was like, how can I come back after this? Whoa, I'm seeing all this stuff. There's no way I'm gonna be so. There's no way I'm gonna come back. Like, I literally thought I was going insane. I'm not even kidding you. I thought I literally was floating with schizophrenia and insanity. And I was like, dude, there's no way I'm coming back from this. I don't understand how I'm gonna come back from it. It blows my mind. And then, it was just so beautiful because you're like, well, let me close my eyes for a few seconds, and then you were like instantly transported onto another, like, my friend was playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 at the time, and he was playing on this snowy ice planet, right?
Yeah.
And so I looked at the TV screen for like a couple seconds, closed my eyes. I was literally there, dude. I was there.
That's amazing, man.
I was
Yo,
there.
I mean, whatever that is, I gotta try that because that sounds cool.
It is no joke. I do not endorse drugs on Daydreams with Dylan. I do not. I am just sharing experiences for educational purposes. How about that? Educational
Yes.
purposes.
We're all learning about it. But honestly, man, yeah, I haven't had it, like, I haven't tried hallucinogens. I can never really say that word, but hallucinogens, like, I've tried it a few times. Like, I haven't tried it that,
Yeah.
that many to really know it. But like the one trip I remember was, I was walking around like downtown Los Angeles. And at first it kind of started off pretty normal. Colors were changing on buildings and, like, interestingly enough. And then it just started getting weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And it was like, I went back, I did it with a friend and went back to his place, and we tried watching this movie. And his girlfriend shows up with her friend. And that's when shit just, like, was going crazy because they were sober and they were like, "Are you guys tripping?" And I was like, "No." And then I just started, like, dude, everything was tripping, man. Like, I think I had some shades and I put them in, like, they had like AstroTurf on their floor, and it was like really cool. But then, like, the shades started like blending in with the AstroTurf. The movie we were watching was like, it was The Harder They Come, which is a great movie, but not when you're tripping, I guess. And I was like, whoa, like, this movie is like just going really, really intense. And then it just switched to like screensavers or whatever. And next thing I know, I'm in like, New York or something like that. Like, kind of like the background that you have, yeah, Hong Kong, like there were like all these cityscapes. And I was like, whoa, like, I'm really in this. Like, it was the most amazing thing. But then, like, after that, I went back home and my roommates were like, yeah, like, they were just having full on conversations with me. And at some point I kind of was like, I have no idea what I'm saying. And I was trying to say that, but I couldn't say it.
So
and
was it mushrooms or LSD or
LSD? Yeah.
LSD. Gosh. Yeah.
That was intense, and shrooms are like, they have their intensities too. But and I mean, I've only had like shrooms like a little bit, but and at that point it was kind of like enhancing visuals around me. Which is also kind of helps making strange movies too.
Yeah, actually, creative
No.
artists do it all the time. Like, apparently in Silicon Valley, microdosing has now become a common thing. Microdosing is like when you like take small amounts of whatever psychedelic substance that you're going to be taking, so it gives you like a different sort of mode. There's a thing called the default neural network that your brain operates on, and so the psychedelic substances sort of shift your default neural network, which is really interesting stuff. So there's actually some scientific basis for why you're more creative on mushrooms or any sort of psychedelic. Like, I literally felt like I was in like a different universe, man. Like, like, and I was so. You have the conscious world, the reality, and then you have the collective unconscious. And I felt like I just like peeled back the veil a little bit to see the collective unconscious, poked my head in there. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's kind of what mushrooms was like. It was, oh my gosh.
That's wild,
stuff.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what the mind can see, but it also makes you wonder, what does the mind not see? You know, like what is it? Because I mean, think about dreams, for instance, right? Have you ever lucid dreamed before?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So how do you do it? Do you like dream journal and, write about what you dreamed of and then that kind of,
No, sometimes it just happens naturally. I don't do dream journals, but I do have a lot of vivid um like I think we actually just talked about this the other day, and uh I literally a couple weeks ago I had a dream that was so vivid I felt like I was living a different life, like someone else's life. It was wild. And I didn't realize it was a dream, and I was just in my dream. I was like, dude, I have to be in a different reality. Like, I have to be in a parallel universe. There's no freaking way that this is just a dream. But I mean, usually dreams are sort of disorganized. They're not very well connected. They don't flow very well. Like when you wake up, you can sort of piece it together and it sort of makes sense. But then you're like, well, how did I get from New York to playing video games in um, Miami in 2 seconds? And that doesn't make sense. And it like literally like this dream wasn't like that. It was like back to back to back. Like I was literally like I woke up, I went to work, like I was like having full on conversations with people, drinking my coffee, went back home, down, slept, woke up, and my it's like what?
whoa, whoa,
Like
that's
what?
weird.
that was trippy. That one messed me up. I was like, that doesn't make it.
I know, dude. Like that's what's so weird about that stuff. Yeah, because I have recently just I don't know, ever since I came back to Georgia, I feel like my dreams have just gotten super vivid. And like I sometimes do feel like I just lived a whole nother life. I mean, last night I had a very, you know, strange series of dreams. At one point I thought I was like somebody else, and at another point I was talking to someone, and then I woke myself up because I was talking and I was actually saying it out loud, and I was like just going on and on and on and on and on. And then I like went back. I just was like, whoa, I was clearly dreaming. I went back to sleep. And, I just like when I was talking about that thing with the bear, earlier, where it was like, oh, I was being chased by a bear. Man, I legitimately, that was a dream. Like, I was so scared. I hadn't, I don't know why I thought of a bear or anything like that, but I just remember being in my neighborhood and, no one was there. And this just big bear like sees me, and I'm kind of like, I don't know what it's going to do. I'm a little unsure. And then it just starts charging at me, and I'm running, and I'm like, trying to get people in the neighborhood or whatever to, like come out of the house. No one's, it's just dead silent. And I even run all the way down to like my old high school. And that's where the dream ended. And then like, deja vu, like the next day, or, the morning when I wake up later on that day, I'm walking down that same street, and, I just get that feeling. My mind just goes right back to that experience, even though I like kind of forgot about it. Like I didn't really think about it, but I just kind of went there, and I was like, oh shit, if I like turn this corner and there's like the creek and the pond, is there
There's gonna be a bear
out
there,
here?
bro.
Like, and I knew there wasn't, but I kind of just still felt somewhat terrified.
Those dreams
That
are
this
the
was gonna happen.
worst. I've had dreams where I've had superpowers where I can fly around. That always is fun to fly around.
That's pretty awesome.
But then I've had dreams where I've like had the superpower where I could like fly around, like say I'm Spider-Man and I'm swinging. But there's a villain that I can't beat, and he's chasing me. And no matter where I go, he always catches up. And those are like so annoying. And I'll swing to another um I'll swing to another building, get away, I'll hide. Next thing I know, he's like creeping up. It's like Michael Myers, just constantly following me. There's nothing I can do to get away. So finally, it gets to the point to where I'm like, this bitch. Like I have to like I usually just turn around and just start fighting after like 6 attempts of running away in my dream. Like sometimes I don't even realize that like I'm dreaming while this is all happening, but I end up like fighting him at some point, and that's when I wake up.
Do you feel like at that point you have sort of taken control? You're like, maybe you're conscious that you're in a dream, or do you just fight him just kind of at a natural instinct and you still are not aware that it's a
I
dream?
think it's a natural instinct because I've had several dreams where, so there was another dream that I had where there was a creepy ghost thing or a creepy clown. I can recall vividly, there was like a hallway. This is the only part of the dream I remember. Like I was standing in a one room, and then this is like a hallway that was down the wall, down the thing. And the hallway made a sharp left, and there was like the corner, and then there was like a door entering another room. But I was standing facing the hallway looking at the sharp left, like corner. And there was this door that kind of came open, and there was a shadow of like a clown figure that started laughing. And I looked at it, and I thought to myself, he's really trying to do this to me right now. And I just said, you know what? Not today, dude. And I walked down that hallway and I beat the shit out of that clown.
Shit.
I beat the shit out of that clown in my dream. And in all honesty, I think I was so proud of myself when I woke up. Like I had no control. It was just something that I just did instinctively in my dream. And I beat the fuck out of that clown.
Man. I mean, good on you though, man. Cause shit, I'm terrified of clowns, bro. There was a clown that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Like I was like little kid. It like picked me up, or he picked me up. I don't know. Clowns are just weird, man. Like it's like sad people, like miserable people. But like if you can defeat a clown in your dream, I feel like that is a big ass accomplishment. Overcoming a fear or something. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think it was just instinctual. Like I don't remember having control. I don't remember knowing what I was doing in the dream. I just recall beating the fuck out of him, and that was it. I woke up. Have you ever had sleep paralysis?
No, I haven't.
Those are strange. Have you ever astral projected?
I don't know. I mean, like, how could you tell?
Like sleep paralysis is sort of like the.
So you are kind of having an out of body experience.
Out of body experience. Now, I have some reservations on astral projection. I don't know if it's real. I'd love to believe it's real, but from my experience, when I've been in sleep paralysis, I get it every so often. Maybe like once a month, I'll go into sleep paralysis. But I'm like laying there, and like it's like the precursor to going into astral projection. So like you're laying there, and then like you have to exert so much effort, like you're like over your whole body, and like you start to like sit up, and then you gotta get up and get out of your body and jump around. But it feels more like lucid dreaming than it does like astral projection, because when at least when I do it and I get out of my body, it almost feels as though I'm in a dream. Like the room starts to shift, like I'm not in the same realm per se, or reality.
How do you know? Like, is it just feels different, looks different?
Yeah, the whole room is different. It's like it's shape shifting in front of me. It's not like it's it doesn't, because when you're astral projecting, it's supposed to, like, your spirit is just supposed to be roaming this reality.
Wow.
That's according to what people say it is. You're just supposed to be able to like roam around this reality, and you can go into different rooms. One of the tricks to test if you're astral projection or projecting is like put a deck of cards in one room, and then shuffle it up, go to sleep, and then use your astral body to like walk over, pick up the top card, see what it is, ace of clubs or something like that, put it down, go back to your body, wake up, go check to see if that was the right one. Like that's like the test. Yeah. So
I wouldn't even know how you could train. How do you even begin to train for that? I guess you would have to have sleep paralysis then.
Sleep paralysis is like the basic precursor. Dylan is in the meeting. He will be right with us. Yes, I promise I'll go back to chat. I promise. I literally just saw that one. Hey, DJ, how you doing, buddy? Vodek, I've seen your stuff, and Randy, I've seen your stuff. I'll go back and I'll talk about it in just a second. But sorry, I'm just way too into this conversation. Having too much fun here. Um, Sleep paralysis is like the precursor to it. So basically, what you end up doing is you try to force yourself to go into sleep paralysis, or you begin lucid dreaming, and then you can sort of draw your body or your mind back to being awake while your body's asleep. So,
Oh man,
so if you're lucid
that's
dreaming,
trippy.
you can focus. I really want to create a story. All right, give me this. All right, so I'm just gonna say it. No copyright. Daydreams with Dylan. Saying it right now. This is my story. This is the premise. Okay. Okay. So if I ever were to write a story or do a film, this would be the concept, right? It would be someone that can astral project. Well, first let's start off with the setting. Okay, the setting would be a society that has advanced to the point to where they have become so logical they've been disconnected from spiritual. And amongst the individuals is this one unique person who has been sort of neglected and doesn't really interpret the logistical realm. He's not really seen as the brightest, but for some reason he has a connection towards the spiritual. And so what he ends up doing is discovering ancient literature, ancient texts, helping him to astral project. And so he ends up using his astral body to go into higher dimensions, like the fourth and fifth dimension, where he's able to transcend time and stuff like that, time travel basically. And he ends up coming across like an organization that really wants to, basically, they've been tricking society into believing that there's no such thing as the spiritual. It's just logic. Spiritual doesn't exist, but they've been doing this in an effort to unlock the fifth dimension or the fourth dimension, which is where time is held. And so they've been using that premise to sort of grasp time. And so they're wanting to get into the higher dimension in a sense so they can control time. And so basically, if you control time, you control the flow of history and you control everything. So he discovers that and he ends up trying to stop him and everything like that. I don't know. That's my story. It would be a cool little manga.
That would be oh my god, that would be a sick manga, yo.
It'd be a cool little manga.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I don't know why my camera just went out. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that would actually be really cool. I mean, I'm interested in seeing how, like, why would they tell him that it's not real if he already knows it's real?
Well, it's just a general message like that the government is using to control society, so they don't adventure out into learning the spiritual side of things.
Okay, and so everyone is in on this in the society except for him?
No. Just the government, but everybody believes the government. Everybody believes that there's no such thing as the spiritual. Everybody believes that, but the government knows that there's more, and they're trying to discover more before, there's an awakening in the society.
Right. Yeah. So
he basically he's using his self, and he's using his newfound spirituality to help awaken society before the government takes control of time.
Have you read Lovecraft's work, H.P. Lovecraft's? Read one of those short stories.
Okay.
Especially the ones that he wrote in high school. There's one called Dagon. That's a really good one. And it's almost like a recounting of events. And the narrator is like writing a recounting of whatever he experienced, such as a Dagon or a monster, with the expectation that nobody would believe him. What intrigues me about your story is there's the dreams part, which is super interesting, but also the fact that this is someone who obviously would be considered crazy in a society like this. Even just speaking of those ideas, Lovecraft writes in such a very unique way where it's so horrific, the recounting of it all, because it's almost like the person who's writing it or the narrator does not want to believe what he just experienced. It's almost like he was so petrified by it. He's like, is this real? Is this not? A lot of that is being questioned. What did he actually see? And the unknown part of it all is so terrifying because it's like, there's a bias as to what he saw. We only get his perspective. and then like just reading that as like a story, only leaving it up to your imagination is like, what? Like you can only imagine
It's
what
called Lovecraft.
possibly happened. Yeah, HP Lovecraft's
HP
just
Lovecraft.
work.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll check them out.
Yeah, there's so many short stories that he wrote, and they are all insane.
They're saying I say we send strange emotes until I get his attention. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. Let me get back to some of these chat messages. I'm sorry, we've just been so I don't know. I love this conversation. This has had my full attention. LOL, Dylan, Spider-Man don't fly. He web swings. I know. Web swinging is honestly way better than flying, in my opinion, in dreams. The worst thing is when you wake up and your pillow is ripped to shreds. How did that happen? Dylan has not seen chat in hours. I know. I'm so sorry, Dill. I'm so sorry. Dylan is in a meeting. Hello, I have arrived. I love it, Daniel. Daniel, are you going live after this? Because if you are, I will make sure I raid you. Hi, Daniel. Cheers. Hello, Randy. Randy, this is my phone account. My main account is Happiest Loner. Better to add that one as a friend. I'm on this account when I'm not home. Hey, Happy. When you're on your main account, send me a request. We can tall amongst. I think you meant talk amongst ourselves. Since Dylan is busy. Yes. Gillen Illustrator. ASAP, Dylan. I need one. Maybe I'll just go on Fiverr and get someone to write the story for me. Let's see. I love all these emails. What I was talking about when you were beating the crap out of the clown. Oh. I got you. No, sir. It's a Thursday. Off day for me. Oh, I got you. Reading chat like it's 4. Oh, I love it. I'm sorry, guys. I had to catch up. I had to do some catching up just to make sure guys show you some love.
No, yeah, let's ask them questions. Let's ask them what they think of all this stuff.
Yeah. Have you guys had any experience with lucid dreaming? You guys had any experience with astral projection or sleep paralysis? I added Nathan on Instagram. Perfect. That was Randy.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, that was Randy.
Dope.
I don't know. I want to get that story out. I feel like that would be a really fun story just to write. I experienced sleep paralysis once. I once dreamt that I beat Dylan in Apex. Ooh, a dream. Definitely a dream, because you know that never happened, Valdek. I'd rather experience it again. I'd rather never experience it again. Honestly, sleep paralysis isn't that bad. It's not as scary as ever. I mean, it is kind of weird your first few times experiencing it because you can't move. That's probably the weirdest sensation. Not being able to physically get up or do anything is strange. But it's you can either feel that sensation of like getting up and getting out of your body, or you can go immediately into lucid dreaming. So it's like a precursor to either of those. And
I see, that's the thing that baffles me. Because I have not experienced sleep paralysis, but I have had out of body experiences in my own dreams. Like I can see myself, and I can almost am like a fly on the wall, or maybe even another person.
That's really interesting.
And just like following me, and I can see all these actions and things that are happening. And I'm not trying to interact with me or anything like that. I'm just sort of like, I guess, documenting in a way. And that's the closest I've gotten to like out of body. And then all of a sudden as soon as I become aware of it, and this is what I've heard too about dreams, is that if you start talking to someone in a dream and you start telling them that we're in a dream, weird things start happening. Like, if you stay in that dream, and people know that they're in the dream with you. It's almost kind of like Inception, you know, the subconscious and stuff.
That does seem very
Stuff will get
Inception-y. Like the dream
super
starts to
weird.
collapse.
Yeah, like and they all start attacking you. But yeah, someone was saying to me one time that they like had an experience where, you know, a dream just got very, very weird, because they all kind of knew that they were in on the dream, or like, you know, she was saying that she had told someone that they were in a dream. Um, I can only imagine, like,
Do you
you know,
keep a dream
because
journal?
I do, yeah.
You do?
I write down. I try to write down like my dreams every time I have them, but sometimes I just write like scribble down a note or whatever.
I really need to.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like you go back and you're like, I remember that.
One of the cool things is like my it's so awesome. I just wish I had the technical skill to play music um as effectively as my brain comes up with the notes in my brain. It's like I'll be sleeping and then literally I'll be playing like a concert or something and I can hear the guitar notes and it just sounds like incredible. I was like, dude, if this was a song, it'd be a freaking hit. Like, there's no way. And then I wake up and I can't play it.
Ah, yeah. Wait,
uh,
do you like as soon as you wake up, do you just kind of like, would you, I don't know, go immediately to your guitar and just try to, you
nah,
know,
nah.
like try to
I,
not even necessarily recreate it, but you think it sparks something new?
I honestly, I should do that. I haven't. I have a really bad habit. I just don't write down my dreams. Or you know, once I wake up, I'll recall it a couple times and then I'll move on with my day.
That's
That's
yeah.
yeah. I need to start writing down my dreams.
Yeah, right. I'd be interested to see what you do with that, because sometimes I write it down and I never look at it again. Especially if it's something that's like, oh, this is super weird, like
Yeah.
horrifying or whatever. Um, and and sometimes, you know, like I'll write it down, and then 2 days later, like I'll be working on something, and then, you know, I'm just like, I look at that and I kind of just, something just immediately ignites within me, or has answered something that I was already questioning or thinking about,
Yeah, you can
and
get a
it
lot
just
of
like I
deep
can
insight from
apply
dreams.
to that. Yeah, which, it's like, you know, the idea of, I like this idea of like entering parallel universes or parallel lives or whatever. But man, I, you know, this is gonna sound weird, but um
You should write a story about a guy that lived 1,000 lives dreams or something like
in
that.
dreams. Yeah.
That'd be
Well, I
cool.
mean, this thing right now, I mean, Rancor is sort of like he enters a parallel kind of thing. And I don't know, I look at it as like a dreamscape, but it, you know, it doesn't have to be that. And it's almost like, if I were to have dreamed something like, it's almost like I could have dreamed something like this before, or at least can dream of something to this effect, or have dreamed. Um, but I believe that like ghosts are kind of like some sort of parallel, like that's some parallel dimension shit.
Really? That's
Yeah,
interesting. I haven't heard. Well, that's an interesting perspective.
yeah, I think so, only because I think it's either like, you know how you talk about spirits kind of like roaming around the world and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, I almost kind of wonder, like, I don't know, I just like this concept of like ghosts have just sort of like, certain ghosts have just like entered in our universe. We just can't see them or whatever. It's totally bizarre. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense, but but I also like this idea of that ghosts are kind of like memories of a certain place. So it's like, you know, if there's a super traumatic thing, of like someone's death was super traumatic, then you kind of have like the projection of that
that's
traumatic
interesting.
event.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting. Let
yeah.
me hit some of
So
these comments real quick. I'd rather never experience it again. Wow, brutal. You see in this young Dylan. I'm sorry, Valdek. I just had to roast you. Wrong if you have a demon approaching you. Talking about sleep paralysis. Um, yeah, knock on wood. No, luckily, I don't. That doesn't happen to me. Again, knock on wood. Not trying to draw anything near. Yes, I am. What I said earlier. Try playing a video game drunk or high, thinking you're kicking butt. Oh, wait, but wake up the next day and they tell you your paddle Wait, wasn't plugged in. Confused, Randy. Um, there was a shadow of a being coming up my stairs, getting bigger and bigger, and coming towards me, and I couldn't move. Oh yeah, that would be very terrifying. That would be extremely terrifying. Um, the concept of the ghost, though, I think that's really interesting. Um, maybe it's just like, dang, what was I gonna say? Oh man, it was like a split reality, like somewhere in there, or maybe, you know how we talked about earlier, how we couldn't see, we have a limited perception, like there's only so much that we can know. So like we only see during like or a small little infrared Roy G. Bibb color spectrum, and that everything in that spectrum makes up our visual perception. And so we're limited to this three-dimensional world. What if there's just like higher beings, like four-dimensional beings or fifth-dimensional beings that we can never perceive, but they're just walking around and we just call them ghosts?
Huh. That would be interesting. Dude, I don't know. Ghosts are like, I've had, I'm pretty sure I've at least had a couple experiences with ghosts that I know of. There was one experience I had with a ghost that, like, it was in a haunted house. They don't really, it's not haunted in the sense that it's like traumatic, I think, because this was a friendly ghost, and you know, Casper, but it was like a ghost that would just kind of walk in between rooms, and it would like close the door shut, open the door, and walk through. And I was sleeping in, it was like an Airbnb, and I remember, and this is, I was actually filming a supernatural show about witches, and you know, about like the and it was like witches in the sense of like Salem witch trial kind of stuff, where there was the accusation of witches, but also what is reality, and is there such thing as magical powers and whatever. And a lot of that show was about kind of interrogating and questioning that. And in the house, we were shooting some like, you know, total like ritual sequences and stuff like that. And, you know, I was making like glass fly and breaking glass and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, like behind me, I hear a door close, and then it like opens back up.
No, I'm good.
And I was like, what? And I like, and I was like, is anybody in that room? And like the one of the people who helped book the house was like, oh yeah, I forgot to say, you know, there's a friendly ghost that lives here.
Oh,
and everyone on the crew was like, oh, a ghost, like
no siree, man. I don't mess with ghosts.
Yeah.
I don't go out and seek ghosts. I don't do the haunted, mainly because
Yeah.
I haven't said this once, say it many times again. I have a respect for ghosts, and ghosts have a respect for me. The respect is, I'm gonna stay the hell away from them. They're gonna stay the hell away from me. We're gonna leave it at that. We're gonna leave it at those boundaries, and we're not gonna cross those boundaries. Because if one day I end up dead because of a ghost, we on an even playing field then. And now I'm gonna beat that ghost ass.
You're gonna find that ghost.
I'm gonna find that ghost. I'm gonna beat that ghost ass. So yeah. I have mutual respect, man. I stay away from.
You guys might have, if it was in the same place, you would probably be in the same, stuck in the same place forever. Just on loop, beating the ghost's ass.
Oh man.
Oh,
That could have been what was happening in my dream. Ghost got too close, and so instead it like manifests itself as a clown. I just beat its ass.
There's your memory, man.
There it is.
But you know, I when I was I went to Salem, and that is a very strange place. There's a lot of you can feel, you know, the death and the power in the ground and around you. It's just caked in the atmosphere. And at nighttime, everybody runs inside. Like there's nobody who's out. Like Salem is one of those places. Yeah, at least, you know, the one day that I visited, as soon as it turned dark, it was like everyone was outside, you know, for just like the entire time, like in the whole day. As soon as it was like 7 o'clock, it was like nobody. and I see like a guy, something like this guy who was wearing like a top hat and like a, had like a cane or whatever. He's like walking down the street. And I was just like, whoa, this is strange. But like there's a ghost house, or I think it's like a house where a judge lived. They call it the witch house. That's what it is.
That's a
And they call it that because, they call it that because there was a judge who lived there with his family, and he was one of the main people that sentenced a lot of women to death. And because of that, there's this belief that the house is cursed, and his him and his family still pretty much live there. And they're like, and I actually I have like a photo camera, and I was trying to take pictures, and most of them just came out like super just fucked up.
Bro,
and
you're not supposed to take pictures of ghosts. That's how you.
Yeah,
that's how you bring them home.
I don't know. I just was like, I need to see.
No, sorry.
But dude, yeah, there was definitely something there, because I saw something on. Like, I'm trying to like blow up the image though. I just don't know how to do it yet. But when I do, I'm gonna blow up the image and see like if I can find something in there, because there's like a little something in the window. And I just knew that I had to like get out of there fast, because it was just like the wind started blowing.
Oh heck no! Again, like I said, I have no intention of going to mess or investigate ghosts. Daniel actually says I have an interesting experience. Do you want to share it? I went on a paranormal investigation. I know I'm going to read chat backwards real quick. Saying I don't know what it is, but I laugh at horror movies now. I was scared of Nightmare on Elm Street. Scared to go to sleep. Yeah, that one had scared me too. And we have Dank Oregano joining in. Guacamole, how you doing, buddy? Vodek, I'm sorry. I just now noticed your sub. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you for the 1 month. Subscribe for 3 months, buddy. I appreciate it, dude. Killing it, Vodek. Dang, we're at 924? Oh, bro, wow. It's 924? No way.
Dude, I lost track of time.
I really did too. All right, we'll let Daniel, if he's interested, share his experience real quick. And then we'll kind of wrap up, because I don't want to hold up much of your time. 9:20. Dang, dude. Realize how time flies when you're having fun. No.
Yeah, great chat.
Some great conversations. Ghosts, films. I wouldn't blow that picture up.
But I was like, I'm taking that thing.
Honestly, that's just me. I don't mess with that. I keep that stuff. I leave that stuff alone. Never mess with it.
I'll have to send you a postcard.
Please don't. Please don't. I'm not trying to invite the ghost over here. My wife was actually working at a hospital a couple months ago in California, because she's a travel nurse at COVID. And she said there was a lot of, it used to be an insane asylum for children, and so it has a lot of, energy there. And she said that there was something that's turning on devices. Basically said, go away, leave. I was like, no, you're not supposed to tell the ghost anything. You're not supposed to engage or communicate with the ghost. Like, that's the worst idea. Like, that's how you invite it.
Did it go away or no?
Well, she didn't bring it home, so.
Yeah, good. I know.
Yeah, so we got lucky on that one.
Something worked.
Oh man.
Yeah. I do hear like hospitals are like where you can see like probably the most like weird stuff.
Yeah.
Like paranormal stuff. Yeah.
My mic is cutting in and out. Yeah, I think it's hitting my chest, and it's I'm turning down the gain, so I need to make sure it stays up so it catches everything. He said, I'm pretty sure I got to talk to my dead granddad through one of the voice boxes. Bro, what? I know, right? It's great. Longest podcast. I would spend the night in Rose Red. Rose Red. What? Randy, what? Confused. That again. I'm always confused. Welcome to Daydreams with Dylan's, guys. Oh, it's
Hey,
Stephen King movie.
Daydreams.
Rose Red is a Stephen King movie. I don't know. I'm not a Stephen King. I don't really watch a lot of his stuff.
Oh man, he writes so good. Like,
You think he was tripping?
yeah, yes, he
You think he
was.
was tripping on some stuff?
Well, he was definitely on coke when he wrote it. Um,
Turns out a lot of the people that make it really high up in whatever career do a lot of drugs.
yeah, King is like he had to get sober. But in his like super pinnacle, he was on drugs, and he talks about he wrote a book called like On Writing, and just kind of about his experiences and like The Shining, drug period, Carrie, drug period, um, it, drug period.
Yeah, I think a lot of these
Uh,
tech giants, tech CEOs, uh, the industry giants. What was it? Steve Jobs at one point, I think, is
oh yeah, yeah.
reportedly taking. I don't know if it's confirmed, so I don't want to tarnish whatever legacy. But I think it was reported that he was either taking coke or LSD. A lot of the psychology, prominent psychologists. Sigmund Freud was a big coke user, loved coke.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
That's so funny. Like Freud talking about Freudian stuff.
Yeah.
It's like that's Freudian.
Well, him and
Because there
Carl
was a
Jung
quote,
were
yeah.
big proponents of dream analysis. Ironically, now that we bring that up, they were big proponents of the meaning of dreams. And I actually read Carl Jung's one of his books, The Analysis of Dream Interpretation, and he talks about how there was a guy that had a dream that he was going to like basically die, and uh, Jung basically was like, "Hey, you shouldn't go on that trip then. Wait, wait a couple weeks or something like that." Well, the guy ends up going on the trip and ends up dying. He wasn't accounting it as like a premonition, but he was like his body was sensing something. So they really did believe in the interpretation of dreams and using those to psychoanalyze someone and help to fulfill them as a person. So
Wow.
it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, it's
Well, Freud, or not Freud, but Jung was the guy that theorized the collective unconscious, and he was like, well, over history, there's been a lot of these symbols. He was very well versed and very well studied in all these different mythologies and religions, and he looked at them and he was like, well, there's a ton of symbols that are similar across different cultures, and it's like they came to the same conclusions. So there's got to be something connecting everybody to these ideas, and so he theorized the collective unconscious, which is a set of basically that connects all of us, which is really interesting.
wow, holy shit, dude. Yeah, I know. Like, I've like read some stuff or watched some stuff where it was like kind of talking about like the human connection and stuff like that. And I always wonder about that because I'm like I think it's like just my mind cannot conceptualize like what is reaching up there or whatever, that's like kind of transcending our consciousness or
Oh
whatever. Like,
yeah.
yeah, that's
I
wild.
mean, that's what I mean from experience. That's at least what I feel like psychedelic drugs do is they kind of kind of peel back the veil for the collective unconscious a little bit. And so I don't know as humans if we're meant to see all that. I definitely think that we have limited capacities in our perception and what we can know. So that's why you get the sort of schizophrenic tendencies when people get on like really hardcore psychedelic drugs, where they're like sort of flirting with insanity a little bit. So
Salvador Dali, he kind of he would do something, and I don't know how he arrived there. Salvador Dali also, like, gosh, like it was like I knew Salvador Dali like back then, but like I didn't really I didn't see his paintings. Like I didn't really sit
who is
down
this?
and see them. Salvador Dali, he was a surrealist painter.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day. But there's an interview with him like in the 50s. because he was a part of this like kind of new wave of surrealism, and it was mainly happening in Europe. It was like him, Breton, and then other people and stuff. And he was really all about exploring this kind of paranoid subconscious. And he wouldn't use drugs, but he would like force himself to be so paranoid that he started hallucinating. And that's like, if you look at his paintings, like that's where that all stems from.
Wow.
And it was like he allowed his mind to just go to some place. And it's like definitely not recommended because
there's a lot of consequences.
Crazy. Yeah. So he just like he would just go like super deep into something. And
that's interesting.
It was hard for him to come out of that. Yeah. And I mean, like, he has a lot of, if you look at his paintings, there's a lot of consistent kind of imagery and stuff with eyes, especially eyes, and like eyelashes too. Ants is a common theme among his work too. If you look at his short film, like that he directed, there's an image that just creeps me the fuck out every time I see it. It's like ants are coming out of someone's hand. And it's like, not even like there's a hole or anything like that. They're just kind of creating, or they created a hole because there were ants inside of our body the whole time, something like that.
That's strange.
Super weird. Yeah. And I mean, someone's getting their eye cut open. Like, it's super weird.
That is very strange. I'll have to look up some of his paintings and everything.
Dude, yeah, he is so good. There's you might be familiar with his work. There's like one painting. It's like it's got clocks. It's like melting clocks. I forget what it's called, but it's basically like there's melting clocks, and that's the one that like, whenever people mention, if you Google like Salvador Dali, that's like the one painting.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen that one. Melting clocks.
Yeah. And yeah, when you see that, like when you really look at it, you're like, you get something from that. Like, it's just, there's so much in there to unpack.
Well, again, I think art and creativity, going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, is like a communication with the soul. And so to be able to get something out of that, as the viewer, I think it's communicating on a deeper level than what we really understand. So, let me get to. I asked it my dad's name, and the box said Michael shortly after. It sent chills down my spine. Michael is my dad's name for sure. Oh yeah, yeah. I have a friend that messed with a Ouija board, and from there, I'll leave the Ouija boards to them. I'm not messing with it. If anybody uses
I've done that too.
The ghost box, I recommend Sage right after. Hi Stark. Yeah, Stark is saying, you've messed with a Ouija board?
Yes. And I didn't use Sage after either, so I really hope there's nothing that's following me. Yeah, a couple friends of mine, we did that, and it was strange. It was very strange. One of them wanted to believe that, we were moving the piece or whatever it is, but we were not. Like, no one was. It was just the force of whatever was there, and whatever was there was responding to us. And then it said it left, but I don't know if it did. So very strange experience.
No, sorry. I don't know what I'm communicating with, what I'm inviting, and I'm not. No, sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
I am not messing with no such ghosty things. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Nate, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Everybody, thank you for staying out for this extra long episode of the podcast, because this is awesome. We are at 9:36 right now. Kind of killed it.
Sweet. Yeah.
Let me figure out who to raid. We got Mr. Holy Schmidt. Let me refresh the page to make sure everybody. Yeah. So we got Holy Schmidt. Let's go ahead and raid him for a split second. /raid. And then. 20. Hit that. So everybody, go drop a like, go drop a follow. Tell them Daydreams with Dylan sent you. Love each and every one. Oh, dude, my hair is so greasy. I need to go watch it, man. All right, guys. Thank you for daydreaming with us. Nate, I'll keep you here for just a second. Everybody, thank you. Have a great evening. Bye, guys.